Man, I mean, like when I got into nootropics, my entire life changed. Like my productivity doubled. I was able to induce focus on cue, motivation on cue. I just felt amazing. Aniracetam, oxiracetam, 9-methyl-B-carboline. Like the choices are endless, and what you can do if you're stacking effectively, it's incredible. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Cortex Labs Nootropics Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Michael Bell. Thanks for being with me. Okay, I'm going to talk about the ERS, okay? The ERS stands for the Effective Rotation Schedule, and it is one of the most important concepts, probably ever in kind of proper nootropics usage methodology. I'm going to explain what it is. I'm going to explain how to execute it, and we'll get into some really, really good details that I think will help a lot of people get better results, consistent results from nootropics. In the meantime, what supports this broadcast is everything at livecortex.com. I mean, look, we've got epic nootropic products. Number one, Cortex Stack, strong nootropic stack. I mean, look, I built it many years ago for myself before I even thought about making it a commercial stack, really for entrepreneurs. That was the initial target because it just turns on productivity. It makes you focus. It gives you energy. It makes you motivated. It makes you verbally fluent. You know, it just like gives you the will to do work. Buy Cortex at livecortex.com. If you're new to Cortex, just do the auto ship option, because auto ship gets you Cortex cheaper initially, cheaper period. And then if you decide to keep it, you get it cheaper per month at the same price at the same time, and there's nothing that you have to do. Nootropics Ground Zero is a video course that I created for people that are brand new to nootropics. There's really no course out there to show you the ropes, give you stacks, give you a framework for how to actually use nootropics and get results. So I created one. It's called Nootropics Ground Zero, and you can find that at livecortex.com. We created another course called Nootropics Masterclass. The Masterclass is really 6-year plus mark of using nootropics. And trust me, there are a lot of distinctions that you make at that level. And there are results that you get at that level that you won't get at the 2-year mark. You're not going to get at the 3 or 4-year mark. It's just different when you know these principles. Get the Masterclass, livecortex.com. Last couple things. If you're wanting to work with me on a consulting basis on these brain engineering consults, we have a 3.5-month and a 6-month program. These are programs that are essentially hands-on, results-driven, one-on-one brain engineering consults. But look, we've also focused on energy. We also focus on testosterone for guys. Anything that will allow you to function incredibly awesome, because baseline is really, really important. And then on top of that, building tailored nootropic stacks and supplements that are effective for you. It's really all about making you perform awesomely. 3.5 months and 6 months, livecortex.com. And by the way, all of that is on sale right now, including the consults, 20% off. The coupon code is 2020, livecortex.com. That will only be live until January 2nd or 3rd or something. So you've got to get on that ASAP, and that special's going away. Okay. So effective rotation schedule, the ERS. Now, I've alluded to this in videos, but I haven't really talked about it and broken it down. I'm going to give you a definition, sort of a soft, rough definition. An ERS is scheduling your nootropic stack administration, both around tasks, so having stacks tailored for certain things that you do, and to prevent tolerance and stack desensitization, meaning keeping your stacks functioning really good so that you don't run into tolerance issues where the stack doesn't work well. Okay, so I'm going to give you some live examples of what an ERS would look like, but I have to break the whole framework down first. So in order to have an ERS, right, that assumes that you have stacks that work well for you. So you have to go through the process of formulating stacks and then adjusting stacks and then finalizing those stacks. Right? The basic principles of formulating stacks are start low and work your way up with pretty much everything, rather than having two major heavy hitters that are dosed super high, like a couple 100 milligrams of an Afanil and high dose aniracetam and a choline source. You would want to more so, I think people have a lot more success with this, I've seen it, dose something like, let's call it 50 milligrams of regular Moda, 400 milligrams aniracetam, 100 of teacrine, and maybe 75 milligrams of L-theanine. Then you have your choline source in there at a low dose, considering the racetam dose, something like 50 milligrams. On the adjustment side of things, it really depends on what you get. Is it hard hitting and awesome? Done. You're finalized. Do you think it's good, but it can be better? Slowly increase the doses on kind of the heavy hitters in the compound, and maybe even some of the synergistic additional components. If it's giving you side effects, you've got to isolate why. Now, this isn't a formulation and adjustment tutorial. We're really talking about ERS, but that's the basic principles. Then you get stacks to finalized. You want to have minimally 20 nootropic stacks that you respond well to, and they should target varying systems. They shouldn't all be cholinergic. They shouldn't all be focusing on acetylcholine. They shouldn't all have racetams in them, or do what racetams do. There should be cholinergic stacks that are going to increase acetylcholine, increase the signal strength of acetylcholine, modify receptor function of acetylcholine, get you to release more acetylcholine in certain regions of your brain. Then you should have dopamine receptor modifying and dopamine transmission modifying stacks that are increasing the quantity of dopamine, speeding up the signaling of dopamine, optimizing the receptor side of dopamine, or all of the above. And then you want to have stacks that are basically just energy stacks, and largely those are kind of the four major adenosine antagonist chemicals: caffeine, dynamine, teacrine, theobromine. But then there's other things that you can take as a nootropic that will help your energy, like Alcar. So you want to, and those are really it. You want to have at least those three categories of stacks. So when you get to the ERS and formulating the ERS, you already have the situation is already sort of slated for you to have different nootropic stacks that are targeting different neurotransmitter systems, which is really the critical thing I want you to take away from this. That you can't be taking cholinergics for 5 days straight. You've got to switch it up. So let me give you a 5-day work week example. This comes directly from a client's document stack list that I'm working with. So on Monday, ex-client is taking 75 milligrams modafinil, 50 milligrams teacrine, 75 milligrams theanine, 300 oxyracetam. Doesn't need a choline source, eats eggs. We figured out for this person that largely they don't need a choline source. That's Monday. So we're working on dopamine to an extent, but largely that's a cholinergic stack, and we have some adenosine antagonism too. Tuesday, completely different stack. Tuesday stack is a pure energy stack. No cholinergics, nothing fussing with dopamine. It is 100 milligrams dynamine, 40 milligrams theobromine, 300 milligrams Alcar, and a B complex. Okay, that's Tuesday stack. Completely different from Monday stack, working on a different system. Again, the adenosine receptors, in the case of Alcar, optimizing mitochondrial function in brain cells, just giving you energy. You're not taking a cholinergic really, because Alcar is mildly cholinergic, but you're not taking a racetam on this Tuesday. On Wednesday, fine, switch back to racetams, but don't use aniracetam or oxyracetam, what we used in the first stack. Use phenylpiracetam. So in this particular case, we've got 100 milligrams phenylpiracetam. I have 50 milligrams teacrine. I've got 50 milligrams centrophenoxine, and I have 50 milligrams CDP choline. That's actually a stack that ended up working out really well for this guy through the adjustment process, which was really, really awesome. Thursday, work on dopamine. Like, totally fine to just exclusively work on dopamine. And Thursday, toward the latter end of the week in this person, and interestingly, seems to be a pattern between clients, that Thursday and Friday are the days where they kind of need, besides Monday for some people, they really need to get a lot done. So this is an Afanil day. Even though we had Afanil in the first day, it's now Thursday. It's been many days since that Afanil, and we're totally cool to run it again. But it's more of a strictly Afanil stack. It goes like this. It's 175 milligrams of modafinil, so it's just pure modafinil, 175 milligrams. And then I have them taking 75 milligrams of L-theanine, and then I have them taking a B complex with it. And that stack runs really, really good. The important thing is not having an additional racetam, etc. in it, because that gives us everything we need. And for Friday, then we can bring the racetams in. So for Friday, the guy stack looks like the following: 400 milligrams aniracetam, 20 milligrams colaracetam, 10 milligrams fasoracetam, and a choline source, which is 75 milligrams of CDP choline for this particular person. That stack's doing a lot, man. Fastoracetams in there calming things down. But the important thing is, like, when's the last time we took these compounds? Well, for some of them, we haven't in this entire week, right? Like teacrine. I mean, these compounds are teacrine, diamine. You can use more. Ultimately, it's like, yes, you will run into some tolerance on the adenosine receptor antagonist side if you continue using them very aggressively, but you can use them more than cholinergics consistently. Okay. The other part of the ERS, okay, so what I just laid out was 5 stacks, 5 days of the week that are completely differentiated, both in terms of the neurotransmitter systems they're affecting and ultimately the outcomes that they produce, in a way that will prevent a tolerance or a stack stopping working to one stack or the other. I mean, this is a huge issue that people come to me with on consults. People email me about and say, why hasn't this stack that I figured out, like, why is it suddenly stopped working? I'm like, well, are you taking anything else? Have you varied anything? You're switching between systems? Nobody's ever doing any of that. Right. And so people end up with, having this switching between systems of carefully formulated stacks. Just like Monday, take this stack. Tuesday, take this stack. Wednesday, take that stack. Thursday, and so on. And they just function really good as a result of that. And there really never comes a time where the stacks become less effective or they run into desensitization. And we're really talking about like ligand-induced desensitization, neurotransmitter receptor desensitization, and then also like on some of these chemicals which act to induce homeostasis in limiting the amount of a neurotransmitter. Not just like chemicals like the SERT, and other transporters. But having preventing acetylcholinesterase as an example from upregulating, which can actually happen if you're taking cholinergics too consistently. So here's the second critical part. In the formulation process, you should have kept in mind while you were building your stacks what type of brain performance you need for what you need to do. So not only are those 5 stacks in those 5 days tailored to different neurotransmitter systems to prevent tolerance, but they're also tailored for what the user has to do that day. Like Monday is a general, wow, everything's crazy. This guy runs a company and there's a bunch of stuff going on. He has to constantly react to everything sort of day and needs 7 hours of energy, right? That's why the modafinil's in that money stack. Tuesday is a kind of a central processing. Now we're getting into the grind of the week type of day. That's why that stack is cholinergic. Wednesday is just, okay, we're midweek, we're kind of on that hump day, and there's a lot to do, but again, to prevent tolerance, and we don't want to work on the same systems, we're just going to focus on energy. And then Thursday, the afinil day, and Friday, and so on. Like, these are targeted to what the person has to do. So let me recap. An ERS, or effective rotation schedule, is one of the most important tools, if you understand how to do this correctly, you can have in your nootropics arsenal. If you're a professional business person or an entrepreneur or someone using nootropics generally just to feel good and be productive, defining it's scheduling your nootropic stack administration both around tasks and to prevent tolerance and stack desensitization. And that means keeping your stacks functioning good. That is a huge problem in the nootropics community and the people that come to me, business folks that have decided, hey, I'm learning about the stuff and I'm going to try some stuff of my own, and they get some progress. But it's like you really never get past those initial points of, I'm having some good stacks, and then suddenly they stop working. I don't know what the hell to do. And I'm like, stop taking nootropics. I'll just get back to coffee or quit coffee. People have all these ideas. It's really just about having the methodology down. Okay. I hope that makes sense. How would you begin at this point? Well, I mean, look, if you have stacks that work for you and they're still working, great. Because if you're not rotating them correctly, you're probably on your way to desensitizing the response, which you definitely don't want. Okay, so you have your stacks. If you don't have enough stacks, build more. Using some of the formulation and adjustment principles that I laid out kind of earlier in this podcast, which we lay out in Nootropics Masterclass. A lot of the formulation and adjustment stuff is in there, and a more advanced version of that is going to be in the Nootropics God course, which is launching somewhat soon. It's almost done. And so once you have a good degree of stacks that you've created, ensure while you're creating them that they're targeting different neurotransmitter systems. This is critically important. Don't just have a list of racetam stacks and just switching them up. Switch between choline, adenosine, and dopamine. I mean, those are kind of the basic principles that you want to think about. Once you have all that settled, understand which stacks are effective for what you do, and then situate them in a way Monday through Friday or 5 days in a row where you're really not hitting the same system very consistently. 2 days in a row hitting the same system might be okay. Any more than 2 days, you're doing it wrong, and you definitely don't want to do that. You want to switch it right up. This is the way that over time, it's like you won't run into problems with nootropics. Modifying brain chemistry in this way, you can run into issues. Tolerance is one of the issues. Side effects are another. A stack completely falling off the face of the earth and not working is another. And I ran into all of these problems early on in my kind of usage of nootropics, and it sucked. I'm like, I have to give this up. I really love this. This is my favorite thing in the world. It changed my life. It changed my brain. I just had to create a methodology to make it work. But that required I understand the brain chemistry a lot more than I did at the time. Which is ultimately the sort of underlying basis for how all of this was formulated. It really comes back to brain chemistry. Get on an ERS, start fussing with it, start experimenting with it, start creating templates. Email me if you need me, comment if you need me on it, or if you want to work with me on this capacity and you don't really want to do it, I will help you create the ERS. I'll help you create all the stacks that you need, and I'll effectively create them. We'll run through the experiments, we'll do the adjustments, we'll finalize them, and then we'll create the ERS and get you functioning awesomely. Thanks you so much for listening, everybody. That reminds me, yes, everything's on sale, livecortex.com, and that includes our consults. So for just a couple more days, the 3.5 month and the 6 month consults on this are 20% off. That's a lot. You actually save $1,000 on the 6 month consult. Coupon code is 20, livecortex.com. Do it if you've been thinking about doing it. For the new year, my God, there's no better time to get on board, and I do have open slots. Let's go. Cortex Stack, 20% off, livecortex.com, coupon code 20. Do auto ship. If you love Cortex, just do auto ship. Or if you're new to Cortex, do auto ship first. You'll get it cheaper. And then if you don't like the stack for some reason, which a small fraction, it just doesn't register well, then you can cancel it, but you'll have gotten it for cheaper. Ground Zero. If you're new to nootropics, you got to start there. So many of these principles are in there, and so much baseline important information for you to understand before going into nootropics is in that video course. Masterclass, much more advanced, highly, highly technical, and targeted to getting you better results from nootropics. Get that at livecortex.com. And then again, the consults are on sale, 20% off, coupon code 20. Get on board with me. Just go do it at livecortex.com. Run the coupon code. It'll take the money off, and we'll book our first call, our fact-finding call, and get going. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.